careful what you say. Behave yourself. We got Barbara and Crystal. Okay. All right. I have 7 p.m. We are here. We're good. We're ready to rock and roll with this week's continuation of Outwitting the Devil. I always love to start our sessions with who had a win this week, who achieved something that made their life a little bit better, or who did something that made someone else's life a little bit better. So, does anyone have anything they would like to share before we get started?
I think I can share something.
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yeah, today I had a meeting at work, and I work with youth, and we're doing a transition meeting for the youth I work with, and they were really happy, and actually they brought a kind of an appreciation to the team, and they said, never forget the good you do to others. So it was really very encouraging and giving me a sense of appreciation of what I do and the encouragement to keep doing, supporting the youth I support.
I love that. Nothing gives us a better reward than
Mhm.
being recognized for helping someone, especially the youth, right? I have
Mhm.
I have three factions that I work with. I work with real estate agents, I work with veterans and military veterans, and I also work with young adults. So
Mhm.
I don't know what age your youth are, Emmanuel. I focus on like 15 to 19-year olds. And it's good to share and to
Mhm.
show them different ways that they can make their lives better, right? So, congratulations for being recognized. That's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. I work with the youth from the age of 8 up to 21.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
that's a big span.
Yes.
Excellent. Good for you. Good for you. Len, you brought a guest in the room. Who is that?
Did. This is, go ahead.
I'm Cindy. Hi,
And
guys.
she's
Hi,
French.
how are you?
I'm
Who are
good.
you?
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Who are you? Why are you sitting with that lady? She's crazy.
Oh, you know what? I love her
And Mario.
and Mario. They're like my second parents.
Oh, very cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a retired metallurgist and I specialize in precious metals
Okay.
back when I was working. And retired now and starting to do some film stuff.
Oh,
A new
awesome.
career.
Good
Yeah.
new career. So you made all
Yeah.
your
Second
money,
career.
you made all your money in gold and silver and all that good stuff. Now you're going to have some fun.
You got it. You got it.
Good for you. Good for you. Welcome to the group. I hope you can join
Thank
us
you.
more often. Thank you.
Oh, thank
And,
you. Thank you.
and was it Cindy?
Yes, it's Cindy. Yes,
Great.
correct.
Cindy, I'm Frank.
Hi,
And,
Frank.
and don't believe anything that Lynn says about me because it's not true.
All I know is we have a book. We have something we need to do.
Oh, oh,
Oh, yes. And
oh,
that's,
oh, that
oh,
book.
Oh,
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 I know
oh!
about
oh.
that book. Awesome. Good for you. Go for it. Full bore ahead. Anyone else
Frank,
have anything? Yes.
Stella.
Stella. Hi, Stella.
Hi. I just wanted to thank you for the recordings because although I didn't attend, I did listen to the recordings when I was able to, and it still affected me in a positive way. So I want to thank you for that. And also, just to share a little bit that it has been a 5 week or 4 week, feels long, anyways, where I was kind of out of contact with a lot of people from this group and others, and doing my thing. And I still saw the progress going. There's small, they may be small, but they're big to me because I face two of my fears. One is just being in front of a crowd, and I'm used to one-on-one when and I've done crowds before, but now I've performed twice now in front of over 100 people, and I didn't, I have to say, at the time I didn't enjoy it, but it was the day after that it all came. And I was wondering, why am I doing this? But I saw that the next day I was excited to do another one. And then now I'm again performing our last one for the summer until September. And I'm not as nervous as what I was. So I'm hoping that I'm going to enjoy this one.
I love
So,
I love that, Stella. I love it. You know, I want to share something with you because I've been doing public speaking for quite some time. And I want to say probably close to 45 years. And I get nervous every time,
really.
regardless of the size of the crowd.
Hmm.
And that used to bother me because I said, by now I should be used to this. But here's what I think. When we stop being nervous, we stop being as good as we can be,
Hmm.
right?
Makes
Because
sense.
it's that nervousness raises our bar. And at least for me, once I get in front of the crowd, I'm fine. But I have anxiety about getting in front of the crowd before I get in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as this book study, every week I want to bring value, and I think it's because I want to bring that value that you have that anxiousness. And if I'm being completely honest, I feel so much more comfortable with this crowd, with this group, with this room, because we've been meeting so long together. Not all of us, but most of us have been doing this for quite some time. But I still have this little piece that says, okay, bring it. And so keep doing what you do, keep getting in front
Thank
of
you.
crowds, keep being uncomfortable, because when you're in your uncomfort zone, that means you're growing,
Okay.
right? So
Thank you for
if
those,
you're not comfortable, you're growing.
and
And your heart's in the right place, you're doing it for the right reasons.
yeah, have to keep reminding myself that. I I did sign up today. Just before I came here, I said, okay, this is my next challenge. I signed up for a class. It's my fifth or fourth course that I do in in the work that I do, and this one is to do it with a crowd. And the teacher asked me, "Are you ready to do it in front of 100 people?" I said, 100? I thought we were only going to be 10 or 15. And she said, no, no, we're doing this in front of 100.
I
So I
love it.
said, well, I said, you know what? If I don't do it now, I'm going to never do it. So I just said yes, and I signed up.
Good for
So
you. Congratulations.
thank you.
And you are gonna kill it.
Yeah.
I know you are. You're going to
You.
kill it. Absolutely.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else? Anyone else have anything that you consider a win or maybe defeating a fear or doing something that you're not comfortable doing? Yolina from Ohio, how are you, my friend? I love it. Go ahead, Lynn.
I won't take any time up. I just want to say my biggest win is being here with you guys. And that's it for this week.
I love it. So we are going to start right back in where we left off last week, where I am playing the devil and someone in the room is going to play Napoleon Hill. So, who is going to be Napoleon Hill this week? I think a couple of weeks ago we had Sean. Last week, I can't remember who we had last week. Oh yeah, we had Betty. Betty, unfortunately, she's not going to make it tonight. She's helping her parents with something. So I need someone to raise their hand and play the part of Napoleon Hill. Oh, Lynn, just do it.
Were you bloody reading my mind?
No,
I was
I'm watching your body language. It sends much better messages than reading your mind.
Last time I was playing Napoleon Hill, so I think let someone
Yes,
else do.
that's right. Bindo, you did it last week. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, Lynn, it's on you tonight, and I will continue to be the devil that I am. All right. So I'm going to share the screen. I'm remembering all these things that I'm supposed to do. It's really hard. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Very good. And I'm going to open. There we go. All right, Len. It starts
Okay.
where we're highlighted.
The question was, I was under the impression that the purpose of all schooling was to help children to think.
That may be the purpose of schooling, but the system in most of the schools of the world does not carry out the purpose. School children are taught not to develop and use their own minds, but to adopt and use the thoughts of others. This sort of schooling destroys the capacity for independent thought, except in a few rare cases where children rely so definitely upon their own willpower that they refuse to allow others to do their thinking. Accurate thought is the business of my opposition, not mine.
What relationship, if any, has your opposition with the homes, the churches, and the schools? Your reply to this question should be interesting.
Here's where I make my use of some more of my clever tricks. I cause it to appear that everything done by the parents, the school teachers, and the religious instructors is being done by my opposition. This diverts attention from me while I manipulate the minds of the young. When religious instructors try to teach children the virtues of my opposition, they generally do so by frightening them with my name. That is all I ask of them. I kindle the flame of fear into proportions which destroy a child's power to think accurately. In the public schools, the teachers further my cause by keeping the children so busy cramming non-essential information into their minds that they have no opportunity to think accurately or analyze correctly the things that their instructors teach them.
Mhm.
Do you claim for your cause all those who are bound by the habit of drifting?
No. Drifting is only one of my tricks through which I take over the power of independent thought. Before a drifter becomes my permanent property, I must lead him on and ensnare him with another trick. I will tell you about this other trick after I finish describing my methods of converting people into drifters.
Do you mean you have a method by which you can cause people to drift so far away from self-determination that they can never save themselves?
Yes, I a definite method, and it is so effective it never fails.
Do I understand you to claim your method is so powerful your opposition cannot reclaim those whom you have permanently ensnared through drifting?
I claim just that. Do you think I would control so many people if my opposition could prevent me? Nothing can stop me from controlling people except people themselves. Nothing can stop me except the power of accurate thought. People who think accurately do not drift on any subject. They recognize the power of their own minds. Moreover, they take over that power and yield it to no person or influence.
Go ahead and tell me more of the methods by which you cause people to drift to hell with you.
I cause people to drift on every subject through which I can control independent thought and action. Take the subject of health, for example. I cause most people to eat too much food and the wrong sort of food. This leads to indigestion and destroys the power of accurate thought. If the public schools and the churches taught children more about proper eating, they would do my cause irreparable damage. Marriage. I cause men and women to drift into marriage without plan or purpose designed to convert the relationship into harmony. Here is one of the most effective methods of converting people into the habit of drifting. I cause married people to bicker and nag one another over money matters. I cause them to quarrel over the bringing up of their children. I engage them in unpleasant controversies over their intimate relationships and disagreements over friends and social activities. I keep them so busy finding fault with one another that they never have time to do anything else long enough to break the habit of drifting. In their occupations, I teach people to become drifters by causing them to drift out of control into the first job that they can find. Excuse me, out of school into the first job that they can find, with no definite aim or purpose except to make a living. Through this trick, I keep millions of people in fear of poverty all of their lives. Through this fear, I lead them slowly but surely onward until they reach the point beyond which no individual ever has broken the drifting habit. In regard to savings, I cause people to spend freely and to save sparingly, if or not at all, until I take complete control of them through their fear of poverty. Environment, I cause people to drift into inharmonious and unpleasant environments in their home, in their places of occupation, in their relationship with relatives and acquaintances, and to remain there until I claim them through the habit of drifting. Dominating thoughts. I cause people to drift into the habit of thinking negative thoughts. This leads to negative acts and involves people in controversies and fills their minds with fears, thus paving the way for me to enter and control their minds. When I move in, I do so by appealing to people through negative thoughts, which they believe to be their own. I plant the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people through the pulpit, through the newspapers, through moving pictures, the radio, and all other popular methods of appeal to the mind. I cause people to allow me to do their thinking for them because they are too lazy and too indifferent to think for themselves. Guys, I'm going to put it on hold right there for a minute. I'm going to stop the share, and I want to have some discussion about this.
Good
Wow.
idea.
Wow. That was a lot. That was a lot, right? All
Yeah.
right. Input. What did you think? What stood out in those last several paragraphs?
Just how we're not in control of anything, really, unless we, it's a way of how easily he can enter our minds
Mhm.
so easily,
And manipulate.
manipulate.
Yeah, it's manipulation, right? We're being manipulated from so many different places, right? The news we watch. I mean, pick what channel of news you want to watch to get the story that you want to hear, right? Because they all have different stories. They all have different twists. My video. I'm going to blow my video for Monday, Len. So my video that I recorded yesterday was all about what Hill calls the seventh evil. So he talks about the six major fears, right? So you got poverty, criticism, fear of ill health, fear of death, fear of losing the love of another person, etc. And then there was one more at the bottom of the book. So I'm reading. I study from the Think and Grow Rich in 10 Minutes. So it's a condensed version of Think and Grow Rich, the original version from 1937. And at the end of the paragraph, he says, we are responsible for controlling our thoughts. And we have to stop the negative thoughts from coming in. And, the CEO of Napoleon Hill, Cleona O'Hara, she says, when you get a negative thought, you just want to reject it. Just don't accept it. And sometimes those negative thoughts come from other people. But unfortunately, sometimes the negative thoughts come within ourselves, right? Sometimes we are our worst enemy because we're not confident, we're not positive that we can achieve the things that we want, and so we let those negative thoughts come in. And what Hill teaches is when you need to be aware, and when you're aware of those negative thoughts, when they pop up, you need to block them out and stop it. And one of the ways that he teaches us to do that is right at the very beginning of the book when he talks about definiteness of purpose. You want to write out your definiteness of purpose. What's your goal? And write it out specifically. with a deadline and write out the action plan. What are you going to do to actually get this reward? And then read that at least twice a day. Once in the morning when you start your day, and in the evening before you go to bed. And the evening before you go to bed is probably one of the most important times to review your goal because you're feeding your subconscious mind something to chew on while you sleep. Because we need to understand is our conscious mind, when we go to sleep, our conscious mind also goes to sleep. Our subconscious mind does not. So what's the last thought that you put into your mind? So fight negativity with positive input. I was just sharing during the 15-minute networking session before we get started. I was sharing with Emmanuel and with Brad. You know, sometimes I used to watch 2 hours of news every morning. What a horrible way to start the day, right? Nothing but negativity. And fortunately, about 3 years ago, I changed that. And now I start my day with nothing but positivity, whether it be Napoleon Hill. I'm currently reading Jim Rohn's book, Living an Inspired Life, John Maxwell, Living an Intentional Life. I mean, there's stuff out there that we can be feeding into our minds from a positive perspective. And we go through stressful times, we go through negative times, and we have to fight that because if we focus on the negativity, what are we going to get? What you focus on expands. So you want to make sure you focus on the right things, right? Anyone else have a comment?
I was gonna say that well, two things. First off, I stopped watching the news like years ago. Like I don't even look at headlines anymore. Like I just don't deal with news at all. Um, because there's nothing positive like in the news really. Um, and then I was talking to someone earlier today. We were talking about there's someone in our group that's a little bit on the negative side, and we were having a discussion about um, how to go about making sure that that person's negativity doesn't affect the rest of the group. And and it kind of ties into what you were saying earlier about like I I was also listening to a book, The 5 a.m. Club. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever heard of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like hurt people, like that concept. And I don't know what you were saying before. It kind of like just popped into my head. Like, you know, her negativity, it's kind of like she's trying to divide everybody in the group. And I was just thinking that, like hurt people.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
Yelena, thank you for that because I remember growing up that people like to commiserate with other people, right? So when you find people who like to moan, groan, and complain, they attract people who like to moan, groan, and complain, right? And so they actually support each other. So I consider myself part of the other group. I don't want to moan, groan, and complain. I want to try to find the positive things, and that's why we have groups like what we have here this evening. So what's interesting is you attract what you're looking for. You really do attract what you're looking for. So if you're looking at the negativity, or if you're in a group where somebody is being negative, the best way um, to get that person not to be negative in the group is to be consistently positive, and they will eventually fade away because they won't be where they belong. And they're looking for a place to belong, right? So we don't have to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't have to make any outright comments. We simply need to stay on that positive track. And
Mm,
that's not always easy, but that's why we're in this group. We're in this group because
right.
we want to be positive and we want to support each other. And I can guarantee you that everyone in this room has probably had some negativity that has entered their life since last week when we met. and we show up and we do the things we do to be able to fight that, right? And I'm part of that group. You know, just because I facilitate this book study doesn't mean I don't suffer from the same things that we all suffer from. So it's really important to understand we support each other and help each other out. Emmanuel, you had your hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, I liked the part where the devil talks about how he confuses people in the marriage. And I can see there Napoleon Hill was really a social analyst, and his reflection on life is timeless. It's applicable to all seasons because you can still see like the issue of money in the marriage, and also parenting is still a big challenge even today to across the world. So it's really a reality.
Yeah, all of these things that we struggle with. I mean,
Mhm.
society is complicated,
Mhm.
right? It's very complicated, and I'd like to think that if we can identify, I had a conversation with a group of my clients Tuesday, and we talked about core values. You know, what are your core values? How do you live your life? Well, I call it being from a military background. What are your rules of engagement? And are those rules of engagement, those core values, things that you're willing to commit to, regardless of the situation? And if you can do that, and we all can do that, it makes it easier for us to say, to make decisions in regard to the things that are happening in our lives. One of my coaching clients actually said, Frank, it was so much easier just a few weeks ago. She said it was so much easier when I had a definite goal, when I knew what I was working for, and then anything that came into my perspective that didn't align with my goals, I simply said no to that. Well, doesn't that make it easy? If we know what our rules of engagement are, if we know what our core values are, if we know what we're trying to accomplish, then doesn't it make it easy to say no to the things that don't align with what we're striving for? Right? So, Emmanuel, absolutely correct. You know, we have to have, I'm going to use rules of engagement. I just like it. We have to have rules. This is how we do business, right? This is how we do things here. And if it doesn't align with how we do things, then we're not going to do that. Plain and simple, right? So making that decision for each one of us in the room. Lynn, you have your hand up. Go for it.
It was me.
Oh, okay. Go,
I
Cindy.
just thanks. I just wanted to respond to Yolena's comment. Hopefully I said her name the right way. Hopefully I said your name the right way. Um, I'm a really super positive person, and when there's negative people around me, there's a couple ways I deal with that. I Part of me just wants to like get away from them because they make me crazy. But another way is just smothering them with kindness. And it's interesting how, especially if you have leaders and you have followers, and a lot of times those negative people can be followers, and just by them being around you, somebody who's positive, you can actually change them into positive people. They'll start making positive comments. Then they'll like scroll back and go find the negative people again, be negative again, then they'll come back to you, be negative, and then you're you give them all the positive comments you can, and then they start being positive. And actually, I have a few friends who were really, really negative, and I said, okay, well, there's a couple ways I can deal with this. I'm just going to be as kind as I can. And it's interesting how when they're around somebody who's positive, how they become positive. So I know you're in a group and you're in a group with a bunch of people, and there might be a bunch of negative people, but I really think that you can change the negativity into a positive atmosphere. I really believe that because it's happened to me. So it's the only reason I believe it.
Yeah, you know, Cindy, thank you so much for that. And
Yeah.
I just want to add on to this that, you know, we all need to avoid, as my friend Zig Ziglar used to say, stinking thinking, right? There's always going to be stinking thinking out there. And I also believe that it's our responsibility to try to support and help anyone who is suffering from stinking thinking. Right? Because you know what? They just haven't been exposed. They haven't been taught. And they if you follow what Napoleon talks about, 98% of our society drifts. So from my perspective, my understanding is that means 98% of the people on the globe suffer from negativity, negative thinking. So there's lots of people for us to help if we can just do it from a position of respect, sharing good thoughts, helping people any way we can. You know, I think I've shared in this group before. There's a woman who I met with when I was involved with a real estate company called Keller Williams. And Keller Williams, uh, one of the person who drafted all of their training, her name was Diana Kokoska. And Diana's retired now, but she had a goal. Every morning when she would wake up, she asked herself the question, who can I help today? And then every evening before she went to bed, she would ask, who did I help today? And if she didn't help somebody, she would pick up the phone and call someone, right? You know, so from my perspective, that's taking responsibility for doing good in your community, in our world, whatever you want to look at. You know, so it's one of the reasons I do what I do here. I mean, I just want to help people. And helping people doesn't mean I'm some type of guy that needs to be up on a pedestal somewhere because I'm certainly not perfect, but I'm doing what I can do every single week, every single day to have an impact. And my mission, for those of you that are new to the room, is to inspire, to positively impact the lives of others. And I do that by helping them to identify and achieve their personal and professional goals. That's it. There's no mention in there about money. There's no mention in there about anything. It's just let's do good. And what's wrong with that? Right? So, Yelena, did you have anything you wanted to respond with Cindy and her comment?
Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome. I hope I helped.
You
Yes.
know, at the end of the day, we can't control anything, right? We can't control things. You know, all we can do is do what we can do. So if what we can do has an impact on other people, and maybe we can change somebody just by being the person we are, you know, being positive, being friendly, being kind, all of those things that, you know, you don't hear a lot about it in the news, right? Just be kind to people. I belong to a local American Legion and they walk around with these little painted stones and these signs and they give them to people. So just be kind. There's no reason to be anything but kind. And if you do that, guess what? It's probably going to come back to you because whatever you put out there into the universe is going to be returned. Right? Right. Cindy, I see you going. You have something you want to add to that?
Well, no, I was just thinking of a story. I was in Mexico one time and there was these two ladies and obviously they didn't speak English and I'm okay with Spanish, but I'm not, like Lynn. Um, but I remember being in the grocery store and I remember them just, you know, trying to pick and choose what they wanted to buy. So they ended up with all this stuff. They ended up in front of me and I remember telling the cashier, can I pay for their order? And it was just it, it was priceless to see the pictures, like not the pictures but the looks on their faces because he didn't understand what I was doing. And so the cashier told them, that lady paid for all your groceries. And they looked back at me because at first they had nothing to do with me. I was just another person in the grocery store who was an American or a Canadian, right? They just like, you're not from Mexico.
Right.
And so on the way out, they said to me, gracias, gracias, gracias. So to me, they were very negative people when I first kind of ran into them. And then doing something very kind for them, they were really grateful to me, even though I don't think they could really express it, or maybe they could and I just couldn't understand them, but I knew that they were grateful. So it's just doing kind things. Like, I completely agree with you. It's just doing kind things for people. And I mean, I don't expect anything in return at all. But
Right.
for me, what fills my heart is doing kind things for people.
Yeah. You know, as you're sharing that story, I'm remembering my most recent trip to New Jersey for a conference, and the hotel I stayed at was right along the Hudson River, and I go for a walk or a jog every morning, and when I walk and jog. whatever it is I'm doing. Cars pass me, I'll wave to them. People will pass me, I'll say hello to them. And I found it so, it made me feel so uneasy going along the Hudson River in New Jersey, where I was struggling even just to make eye contact with people because they weren't looking up. They were looking at their phones, looking down at the ground, whatever. And, but every single day, I was able in a 4 mile walk to make eye contact, engage, and smile with somebody. And when I did that, I felt like, okay, I had an impact. They look at me saying, "Who's this weirdo? Who's this old pervert?" Whatever they want to think. But I'm smiling and I'm waving, and all I know is that I can create someone else's smile if I do that. I do it in the grocery store here in my hometown where I live. I just try to make contact. My special skill is shaking hands and kissing babies. That's what I like to do.
Oh.
And last week I had the chance not only to shake some hands, but I actually kissed the baby, so it was pretty cool. But why can't we just do that and be pleasant and be happy instead of being afraid? See, I don't think it's that people are trying to be mean. They're just afraid
Mhm.
because they don't know who you are, who I am. What's that person going to do to me if I drop down my guard, right? And boy, that's a horrible way to live. So I think all of what we just read here, the devil, all the stuff that's around us that creates hatred, fear, discontent in our community. I mean, why? Why is it necessary? Why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all just realize that we're all human beings
Mhm.
and we can support and help each other rather than fear and fight each other, right? So that's what I got. Anyone else have anything they want to add? Go ahead, Lynn.
No. Oh,
I
I was
thought I,
gonna
s-
quote.
I thought I saw your hand go up.
No, I went to turn to put the audio off.
What?
I
For
think
once,
everybody did so well.
wait a minute. For once, Lynn doesn't have anything to say. I'm taking it down and
I
shut it off.
know, isn't that shocking?
I love it. And Lynn, I love you. All right. So if no one else has anything to add, we're going to go back to the share and we're going to pick up with Lynn as our Napoleon Hill. All right, Lynn, you there?
I'm here.
All right, you got it?
I got it. I conclude from what you say that drifting and procrastination are the same. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct. Any habit which causes one to procrastinate, to put off reaching a definite decision, leads to the habit of drifting. All right, so here's a portion. Let's see. Hey, Bradford, would you read this portion? Because this is from Sharon Lecter, who actually put out this edition of the book.
Yeah, sure. Says the devil, I cause. Did you read this portion already?
No.
Okay. I cause people to allow me to do their thinking for them because they are too lazy and too indifferent to think for themselves. Laziness plus indifference equals procrastination equals drifting. This describes a true drifter as defined by Hill. Since I have been a true procrastinator for most of my life, this hits a little too close to home for me. I like to use the excuse that I work best under pressure, but that is all it is, an excuse for why I procrastinate. Can you think of examples in your own life when laziness and indifference led you off your path to success? When an opportunity slipped through your fingers because you were too slow to seize it in time?
Wow. Wow. I'm going to stop right there just for a minute. We're going to talk about that. Stop the share. All right. Who are my procrastinators in the room?
I I felt they were talking about me, to be honest with you.
All right. Why do we procrastinate?
Fear,
Fear of what?
either success or fear of failure.
Ooh, you know what? I love the way you just said that, Stella. Do you realize that some people don't do things because they're afraid it might work?
Yeah, I'm one of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Fear of success, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And yes, fear of failure. I mean, that's fear of criticism. That's part of it. But fear of success stops us sometimes too. And we don't do the things that we know we should do, even though we know that that's the right thing to do. And we procrastinate and we put it off. I listened, what was I listening to? Um, Actually, it was Cleona. There was a recent video recording that was put out that I just saw the other day, and it was Cleona talking about manifestation. So, we get these thoughts that come from the universe, infinite intelligence, God, whatever you want to call it, and we put the message out there. Hey, this is what I want. And the universe responds back with, okay, this is how you can get it. So it's providing you with the plan. And then you don't take immediate action. You procrastinate. So instead of manifesting what you want, you have what she calls a violent manifestation, which means you get the complete opposite of what you could have had because you failed to take action. Think about that. If you fail to take action, you could actually get the complete opposite of what you could have had, which was what you asked for. And that just really impacted me when I heard that. Because I think well, I'm going to speak for myself. I know I procrastinate a lot. I'm kind of like Sharon Lecter here, where I would say, well, when my back's up against the wall is when I do my best work. Well, no, it's just because it has to be done and you have no excuses, so you have to do it, right? So when you receive a message, when you receive a thought that tells you in order to achieve what you want to achieve, you have to take these steps. Don't put it on the back burner. Take action immediately. And remembering what Napoleon Hill teaches is your plan does not have to be perfect to take action. If you have a plan, take action and you can tweak it as you go along, right? So, Yolena, I saw your hand go up. What do you want to share?
Oh, I was just putting my hand up for procrastinating. Um, I know that a lot of times I'll think of something and I it's not that I don't get on it right away. I will a lot of times get on it right away, but then like my ADHD takes over and like halfway through I forget what I was doing and then I'm like and then like 2 weeks later I'm like, oh yeah. I need to finish that.
Forget about 2 weeks later. I will go to my computer and I'll go to a certain screen for a certain purpose. And by the time I get there, I can't remember why I went there and I get distracted because
Yeah.
it's so easy for us to get distracted because life is
hmm
happening just way too fast.
Yeah.
And when I leave a screen, like I'll leave email to check Facebook, and on my way to Facebook, there's an Instagram message that pops up, and all of a sudden I forget what I was doing, right?
Yep.
So this is where it's really, really, really important for us to stay focused on what our purpose is.
hmm
What is it you're trying to accomplish? And when I first started studying and coaching with Napoleon Hill, my question was, so what's your definite major purpose? And that
Yeah.
was such a broad question. And people
hmm
start thinking, to infinity, where do I want to be in my life? And okay, all right, but how about where do you want to be at the end of this month? Where do you want to be at the end of this week? You can chop this down into little pieces and figure out what's your definite major purpose for right now. What is it that you want to focus on? And it may be a 1 week project, it may be a 1 month project, it could be a 1 year project, it could be a 5 year project. But whatever
hmm
you feel comfortable with, figure out what it is that you want and chop it down into pieces. Put together the plan and go into action. Right?
Yep.
Lynn, you have your hand up on.
Yeah, there's something I don't know if I ever mentioned this or not before, but we're talking about procrastination and that. Many years ago, when I first started my first business, I was in my early 20s and the kids were small, and Mario came into business with me, and I wanted to franchise. And he just did not want to do that at all. And I saw the big picture. I always see big pictures. I don't tell him big pictures anymore that I see. I don't. But however, I went for help here in Sudbury. And actually, I think Stella, you might know the gentleman. He was a guru in NLP here in Sudbury, and he helped a lot of
yeah,
people. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And
He helped me.
did he? Okay. Anyways, I went to him because a friend of mine who was a school teacher said, you need to go see this gentleman. So I did. And when I told him, he was always he was so fascinated in my ideas and some of the things, and he would get carried away, wanted to know more of what I would see. And I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. And then after, when I said to him about procrastination, he said sometimes people procrastinate because the people around you are not ready to go with where you want to go. And if those are people you don't want to let go in your life, you want them there with you forever, you begin to procrastinate for the people around you. And I thought, that was kind of interesting. I could have been there, but I do procrastinate in other things. And I don't know if that's the reason. I don't know. But anyways, I just had to share that. And
Yeah,
what's
I
your
mean,
thought? What are your
and
thoughts on that?
Lynn, I appreciate that, and I'll say that the we all procrastinate for different reasons, uh, but I think primarily we procrastinate to the greater side because we're not definitely focused on what it is that we want.
Oh, I know what I want. I always did. But I wanted my family more. And if my family didn't want to come with me,
So here's the interesting thing. When you identify what your major purpose is and you identify what the plan is, so what do I have to do to achieve that? There's another question. Am I willing to pay the price?
I wasn't.
Right. I'm not going to judge that. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's you have to ask yourself the question, am I willing to pay the price? And that price sometimes can be very, very big. And we have to be willing to say, you know what? Based on what I think I want to do, I'm just not willing to give that up. I'm not willing to pay the price. And that's okay. That's not, to me, that's not called procrastination. That's making a decision. To me, that's making a decision that what I want to achieve and what it's going to take to get there I'm not willing to give up what it's going to do to my family, to my health or whatever.
Now, I can take it one step further now where I am today, because what I'm learning and what I'm learning through Bob Proctor and Think and Grow Rich, these things. I did have a coach before you, Frank.
No, surprise.
But anyways, she used to say to me, what if it's possible to have it all? And that's when all of a sudden I started thinking, and then she would shift my way of doing things. And I'm thinking now, what if it is possible to have it all?
Yeah. So there is a concept in a book. I think I mentioned this book last week, if not the week before. It's a book called The One Thing. And the book was written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And it talks about focus. And it has a question that they ask, the focusing question. What's the one thing I can do? Should I do that? Would make everything else easier or unnecessary. And in that book, they talk about life-work balance. There are times in our lives where our focus needs to be on X. This is where we're going. So all of my energy is going here. And when I do that, everything over here is a sacrifice. So, for example, and I'm using this is a great example. When I first started studying Napoleon Hill with Napoleon Hill Institute a year and a half ago, all of my study, all of my energy went there. And because all of my study and energy went there was a lot of time that I was not giving to my wife, which is really the only family I have here right now, right? And so I was focusing there to achieve a certain goal, and I was sacrificing here. That's okay, as long as at some point you realize, okay, I've done enough over here. Now I have to reward what it was that I sacrificed. I have to refocus, right? And in the book, Gary talks about, think about a ballerina. And a ballerina, there is no such thing as work-life balance, just so you know. You're either extreme on one side or the other side. There's no such thing. And so he talks about a ballerina who's standing up on point, right? Standing up on their toes. And everybody looks and says, look at that wonderful balance. But it's not balance, it's counterbalance, right? Her muscles and everything is working in tandem to maintain a counterbalance so that she can focus where she is or he is. At the end of the day, what we need to understand is sometimes our focus goes in one direction, thereby leaving the other things that are important in our lives. And in the book, they talk about 7 circles: financial, health. There's all kinds of things in there. And but you neglect some things because you're focusing over here. And it's fine as long as you keep it in balance and return to what the other things are that need to be focused on. And I don't know if I'm making sense with that right now, guys, but at the end of the day, there are periods in our life where we have to focus in one direction to make things right. And when we do that, we have to remember to bring everything else back in when we've made things right. Right? Stella, I see your hand up. I'm not ignoring you. Go for it.
I have 2% left. I'm going to transfer, but to my phone. But I just wanted to say today I was doing one of my courses that I did. One of the questions was, do you think that soul purpose or a mission and your mission, your soul purpose are the same? And I thought it was. I answered yes, but it isn't. They mention that it's not the same, and you have to know what the difference is, and make sure you know what your mission is, and make sure you know what your soul purpose is, because it makes a difference when you're choosing what to manifest.
So, Stella, what's the difference? Can you share with us what the difference is?
Well, I was going to call my teacher after that and ask, because I thought it was the same. But yeah, and talking and listening, mission could be, my mission is to get myself, so my soul purpose is this, and my mission is to get there, like the steps to get to my mission, to my soul purpose. That's how I thought it was the same, but I still have to, because I didn't pass that question. That's one of the questions, and I fail that part of it. So
okay,
it's something I could get back to you next week about.
Well, I'm thinking in my military mind, my background as a Marine, and my mission is immediate.
Okay.
Right? So my mission is, this is what I need to accomplish right now. This is my mission.
Okay.
My purpose is probably bigger than that.
Okay.
Right? So if I think about my military career, my purpose was to serve my country. The mission was whatever I needed to address at that time.
Okay.
So I think the purpose is bigger than the mission. I mean,
Okay.
that's just what I'm
get
thinking.
there.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think my purpose is to live an intentional life and to have a happy life, right? My mission for today or for this month or for the next year, might be just a stepping stone to get there.
Okay.
I mean, and I'd be interesting to hear what your instructor has to say about that.
Okay.
As you were speaking, I'm just thinking about, okay, what's the difference? And as a Marine, my mission, my purpose was to serve my country. My mission was to handle whatever needed to be handled at that time.
Whatever came your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So,
Makes
all right.
sense. Thank
Anyone
you.
else? We got about 5 minutes left. I'm just going to leave it for open conversation. Bindu, you've been quiet this evening.
I actually want to say something.
Okay, go ahead, Ivana. Sorry, Bindu. Ivana's jumping in. It is what it is. It's who she is. She's from Canada. No,
Not
she's
from
not.
Canada,
She's
dude.
from
From
Jersey. She's from Jersey.
Jersey.
That's right.
No, I wanted to say it's a couple of things. So today I drove by a school in like lower middle class area, and there was a sign on like in front of the school that says, "We prepare your children, or we prepare our children to get into college and start high paying jobs." This is their advertisement for children. Like there's no like, and I want you guys to drive around and see if you see these advertisements by the schools or like the signs or whatever. Is there anywhere that says like, we teach your children to strive to be the best that they can be? Or like there's nothing like that. It's absolutely depressing, because truly like nothing in school has to do with you know, figuring out what you're good at, even, you know, how you can create something bigger of yourself. It's always like, this is what you need to do. ABC. They have experiments that they'll give a kid 30 questions, and they will cut them off at a certain point, knowing that the child will not complete the task, and they have to be okay with not completing the task. And I had an issue with it with my son, because my son, he doesn't feel comfortable not completing the task, right? And the teacher told me, it's like, this is a very important exercise that we do, because when I say put your pencils down, this is it, you're finished. And the point is that the exercise is made to fail, you know. There's no way you could finish all the questions. It's specifically made, it's specifically designed to make sure that each kid in that class does not reach completion. And I think that's so awful. So that's one thing. So think about that. Public schools. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the news, right? So whether you're left or right in the United States, it doesn't really matter. So if you are a CNN and this is very difficult for me because I'm Ukrainian, and I'm anti-vax. So there's people that I follow regarding the COVID, the vaccines, the things that are happening in the world that I think are, you know, crazy. So like there's Candace Owens, there's certain people that tell the truth on that point, but those same people don't tell the truth on Ukraine, right? And then you go to the other direction, where you have CNN and NBC or whatever, where they were talking all about Ukraine and talking about the crazy things that are happening there. But they were also talking about how, you know, COVID is real and everyone needs to vaccinate and all this other stuff. And now they're not talking about how many people are getting blood clots and all these other things. So it's almost as if each news station has to focus on a side. There's no way you're going to get a news somebody that gives you the news that will be completely unbiased. And unfortunately, that's probably because of the advertisers, right? So whoever pays them.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say.
So Ivana, thank you for that. And you know what, that falls right in line with what we were talking about in the interview with the devil today, right? We're being given information from multiple different sources, depending on what do you want to hear. You can find the channel, it's going to tell you what you want to hear, right? And so it's really, really important for us to recognize that we have the ability to make up our own minds, right? And not just
And
follow.
both sides cause drifting,
Yes, you're exactly
you know?
right.
So it's like if you believe one, basically people are like, I believe this guy, so I don't believe this guy. But there's something to believe in this guy and there's something to believe in this guy. And the fact that you have to pick one, that's causing you to like, you know, not understand the world. And
And if I might share, that goes back to choosing what your core values are. What are your core values? What do you believe in? Uh, how do you want to live your most purposeful life? And not letting those outside um, media entities, for lack of a better term, to cause you to change what you believe your core values are. So as individuals, we get to choose what we want to do with our lives, how we want to impact the world, and how we want to interpret the world. The world's a crazy place right now. And so we get to choose how we want to do things. And, for me, I listen to the news. I listen to all the channels, to be quite honest with you. I want to hear what everybody's saying, only for one reason, so that I can make my own decisions on what I'm going to believe and how I'm going to move forward. Right. So I think thank you, Ivana, for that, because it ties exactly right into what Napoleon was talking about in this last section that we read today, is all of the influences that are around us that are distracting us from being the best that we can possibly be. And we have to take control. If we neglect to take control of our own minds, and allow the thoughts of others control our thoughts, then we're neglecting our responsibility to serve at the highest level. And that's our responsibility, right? So with that, I've got 8:02. Does anyone have a final comment or something they'd like to share before we say goodnight for tonight?
I got a quick one, Frank.
Go ahead, Sean.
Uh, Ivana, you said something there where you're watching the news. Uh, I'm also like you. I'm one of those anti-vaxxers. Like, how dare you even question stuff? I thought it was pretty criminal how that all played out. But as far as like the Ukraine, instead of putting on Fox or CNN, why don't you try going to an alternative source? And I'll give you one. There's this gentleman. He's on either Telegram or you can find him on Rumble. It's just the Duran, Duran. And they'll give a perspective that you won't even hear. And I'm not saying it's true. I think you gotta, like kind of do what Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. But you're hearing stuff that you're not hearing in the regular news. And even these guys, I don't trust them 100%. But I do know what you're saying with the news and with the vaccine there. So my thing is, I just turn the main news off, and I only give myself like 15 minutes a day of news, and then I'm done. I don't, because you're gonna want to put your foot through the TV screen. But that's all I got. That's it.
Did you say Jeff Duran?
No, it's just the Duran, Duran. It's two guys. One guy's from England, and the other guy's a Greek guy, and they talk back and forth, and they discuss the Russian side. They discuss how NATO is trying to drag us into a war. Like Lindsey Graham, we have a U.S. senator over there who's trying to drag us into war. And it's they kind of
Well,
hit all different
what you're
perspectives.
saying, there is some sense to it, but I don't think anybody is thinking about actual Ukrainians who don't want to be Russian.
Okay, so
No,
I have to I have to step in
nobody's
here.
thinking about
I
that.
have to
I know,
step in here because this is
but
not a political channel.
Duran.
I really don't want to get into politics.
Hmm.
We're studying a book. We're studying a
Okay.
mindset. So I appreciate your comments and your input. But
Thank you.
let's try to keep this what it's supposed to be. Okay, Lynn, I'm going to give you 1 minute.
Okay, Ivana, I want you to know that Sean comes to dinner once a year when I'm in Florida. We'd love to have him over more. My girlfriend, her sister is with Sean, and they all come over. And Ivana, you would love to be at that dinner table. It is the best time we ever have. Honestly, Sean, we have a ball when you're over for dinner. Even Mario.
Next winter, we'll all meet up.
We're all okay. Everybody in the room is having dinner. Everybody in the room is going to have dinner at Lynn's house next winter in Florida. Okay.
We only have Sean's there. Sean has to be there.
I love you guys. I hope you have a great week. Thank you for your input tonight. I really appreciate all of you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great, wonderful evening.
Thank you, Frank.
All right. Take care.
Guys.
Take
Talk
care,
to you
everybody.
later. Bye-bye.
All.
Good night.